This mid-morning, let's answer a question from social media. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question about Buddhist or Taoist meditation or philosophy, there is no need to be shy. Simply type your question in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. So I want to apologize if I have a sourpuss. I'm rather under the weather, but I'm doing the best I can. Let's see. I'm waiting for my side monitor to activate. Please bear with me. Okay. About 52 minutes ago, someone who goes by the handle of non-dual awareness asked about insomnia. They claim to be struggling with serious insomnia, they say that they're unable to sleep due to anxiety attacks. So can anyone recommend techniques or anything else that can help? Yes. However, I have two answers. The first one may be disappointing. If you feel that you have anxiety attacks, and you feel the anxiety attacks are undermining your sleep, and consequently undermining your health, then you need to work with a qualified psychiatrist. If you don't have one, then I'm going to turn your attention real quick to, let's see here. In the description area below the video, there are a ridiculous amount of links. One of them, let's see here. Here we go. Under the heading of vegan education, there it reads, find a plant-based physician. And when you click the link for pcrm.org/find a doctor, you'll be able to find an MD who practices psychiatry in a manner that is informed by the latest peer-reviewed studies correlating various psychological effects and physiological circumstances, such as gut microbiome and systemic inflammation, and of course, unresolved trauma. But often it is more physiological than it is psychological. And so I really strongly urge you to use that free resource and find someone who can work with you. Now, between now and your first appointment, because it's very difficult to get a same-day appointment, but between now and your first appointment, there are some things that can help. Now, I'm not going to insult your intelligence. I'm going to assume that you're correct, and the only thing that is disturbing your sleep are panic attacks. So I'll give you two things that could help. Well, one principle that can help, but two applications. There is a treatment for trauma that could have a tangential effect on panic attacks. Trauma involves two components, and I'm going to push button number 7 here, so I push another button so I can use my pointer. That involves the amygdala and the hippocampus regions. Now, panic attack may just involve the amygdala. Honestly, it's been a while since I last reviewed the neuroscience of panic attack. I apologize for that. So, their bilateral stimulation can have a profound effect on the panic attack symptoms of PTSD. And it's a free thing to play with, and it may really take the edge off. I remember when I had panic attacks after being involved in the 3-car pileup, this really, really helped me. Maybe it'll help you as well. So it's a 3-part process. So let's deal with the first part. Let's see here. I'm going to tap button 9. And this will bring us to a page in this morning's practice text. And if you'd like a version of this, reach out to me and I'll happily send it to you. And I'll do my best to upload it to the website so you can have it for free download. So this bit down here, these aren't meditations, these are contemplations, which means they are much more active. And they are formatted in terms of rhetorical questions, which means they're very user-friendly. And here's how you play with a contemplative rhetorical question. On the first half, during the inhalation, we silently and mentally recite the first half of the question. And during the exhalation, we silently and mentally recite the second half. So you can start off doing this perhaps 4 repetitions each. The first exercise is not based on metaphysics. It's based on just getting us out of victim mode, which can really cause us to spin out. So we pretend that every stressor in our life is something we've earned through action or negligence. Now, is that 100% correct 100% of the time? No. But is that a useful idea to play with to make us feel more resourceful? Yes. And then the second rhetorical question, how could striving increase stress? If we're in a panic attack, we're already feeling stress. We don't want that stress to increase. So exploring this opens the door to the possibility of making peace with the presence of uncomfortable emotions and uncomfortable heart rate. Let's continue now. The third rhetorical question, how could this not be me? This is a wonderful, nonsensical question to help us let go of anything that we're noticing. So in the moment of a panic attack, it's the panic attack that we're noticing, and we're noticing it effortlessly and spontaneously. So by playing with the magic pronoun this, how could this not be me? It helps us to once again take the edge off. And the third rhetorical question is, takes us out of ourselves and pulls us into empathy, which is so important. How could I free all beings? So let's explore getting pulled into empathy. I'm going to return to our diagram of a brain. And, live long and prosper. Okay, so here we go. So this is amygdala is our seat of fear. Over here, our anterior cingulate gyrus is our seat of empathy. Simply playing with this rhetorical question gets us out of our amygdala and into our anterior cingulate gyrus, out of our fear center into our empathy center. And when we say us, I really mean it's blood mass. fMRI studies show that when we're scared, our blood mass is congesting in our amygdala. And there's more neurological activity lighting up our amygdala. And when we are in empathy, there's more blood mass and more neurological activity lighting up this area of our brain. And yes, it could be argued that it's not binary, it's not an on-off switch, but there is a migration of activity and blood mass from the fear center to the empathy center, which is remarkably powerful. Now, does that mean that a panic attack is some sort of an indictment and you're only having a panic attack because you're selfish? No, it doesn't. Not at all. Not even a little bit. But these are tools that can really take the edge off. This is no substitute for going to the PCRM website and finding that psychiatrist, no less working with them. Okay, so I'm going back to button 4, back to Jumbo Cam. So that was part 1, playing with rhetorical questions. We've discovered where they are and where you can find them. And even if you don't want to go to my website, you can still pause this video and play with those questions. Maybe even jot them down on a piece of paper. Now for part 2. While you are sitting in a proper meditation posture and you are practicing you are playing with these rhetorical questions, tap bony protrusions on opposite sides of the body. For instance, you could tap alternating kneecaps, first the left, then the right, then the left, then the right. Not at the same time, they have to alternate. That can really help to reset a panic attack. That's been my experience and the experience of Dr. Paul Hartman. So if you have a bad back and tapping on your knees affects your back, then tap on your elbows. You can't really see what I'm doing right now, but I'm going like this. Or you could tap on alternating. This is kind of difficult. You can tap on your collarbone, one side and the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So back and forth, How could this be quite just? How could this be quite just? And it really works better if you're tapping on a bony protrusion like your collarbone. And it can't be on your center line. It has to be opposite sides to create that bilateral stimulation. Now, if you're in an environment where tapping will just make people freak out for whatever reason, people are weird, and sometimes they're freaking out, and can compound your freaking out. So if you're in a situation where you have to be discreet, then what you can do is on your in-breath, open your left eye and glance to the left, and during your out-breath, close your left eye, open your right eye, and glance to the right. On your next in-breath, close the right eye, open the left eye, and look to the left. And yes, that is strange, but it's more discreet, and it will create a bilateral stimulation that some people describe as massaging the amygdala, other people describe as creating a neurological pattern interrupt. But that can really, really help. Another thing that could help, if your back permits it, is to do mountain climbers, which is when you get in a push-up position, and then you pull in your left knee, and you're extending your right leg, like you're sprinting, and then you reverse it. You shoot back your left foot and pull in your right knee simultaneously, like you're running in place, kind of. That can also have a stimulating effect, and which can really, once again, it's the bilateral effect that really, really helps. One fellow whose name I forgot, Dr. Doug, I forgot his last name. He talks about running in place as fast as you can, because that, once again, creates that bilateral stimulation. So of all the techniques I've just given you, sitting and tapping or sitting and gazing can be very effective. Now, it would be very nice if you did this once and you never had the problem ever again, but it is unlikely. So let's go back to button 9 and assume you're working with these exercises once every 12 hours, maybe for 5 minutes. By the way, if the only reason you play with these exercises once every 12 hours or 5 minutes is so that when the panic attack finally comes, you are already familiar with these exercises, then that's called investing in future peace, and I strongly recommend it. So once you have found that you've memorized this, or perhaps maybe you've just typed this. Oopsie. Oh, that was exciting. Oh, gosh. Let's get that over here. Okay, so let's pretend you've just jotted it down. Okay, let's pretend you've jotted it down on a notepad on your smartphone. Then what you can do is walk briskly around your block while asking yourself these rhetorical questions silently and mentally. That can really, really help a great deal. I would be, so yes, that's something you can do even tonight. If you jot these questions down right now, maybe take a screenshot, and that way you have access to it either on your camera roll or on your notepad. This is what I would do if I was having panic attacks. And by the way, panic attacks are not an indictment. It just means that our survival, the survival portion of our central nervous system has been triggered. So now that we've beat that horse into the ground, before we jump in to this morning's formal practice, I'm going to take 1 minute for housekeeping. Every day I live stream 4 meditation classes without any ads, health permitting. With your assistance, this channel could come to help support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If that speaks to you and you'd like to help out, even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month, simply take your smartphone's camera and capture this QR code, or if you're old school, scroll down into the description area below the video and click one of the donation links. Sadly, I've got to do a spot of editing. Wow, having some trouble with the coordination. Here we go. Okay. So let's chant the Heart of Wisdom Sutra. Now, if you feel great right now, then I recommend putting your hands in the prayer position and holding it in front of your chest. This helps to coalesce our subtle energies in a way that supports meditation. However, if right now you're having a panic attack, then put your hands in your lap or place your palms over your navel. While practicing the deep practice of Prajnaparamita, looked upon the five skandhas and seeing they were empty of self-existence. Said here Shariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. Whatever is form is emptiness, whatever is emptiness is form. The same holds for sensation and perception, memory and consciousness. Here Shariputra, all dharmas are not defined by emptiness, not by birth or destruction, purity or defilement, completeness or deficiency. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, no perception, no memory, and no consciousness. That should silence the phone. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, and no mind. No shape, no sound, no smell, no taste, no feeling, and no thought. No eye, no element of perceptions from mind to conceptual consciousness. No causal link from consciousness to old age and death. No end of causal link from consciousness to old age and death. No suffering, no source, no relief, no path. No knowledge, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, without attainment. Bodhisattvas take refuge in Prajnaparamita and live without the wall of the mind. Without walls of the mind and thus without fears. They see through delusions and finally accomplish nirvana. All Buddhas pass... Oopsie, let's add that real quick. This is what we call editing on the fly. All Buddhas, past, present, and future, also take refuge in Prajnaparamita and realize unexcelled perfect enlightenment. So when you're sitting this way, I recommend you open your scapula. Don't close them, open them. You should therefore know the great mantra of Prajnaparamita, the mantra of great magic, the unexcelled mantra. The mantra equal to the unequal, which heals all suffering and is true, not false. The mantra in Prajnaparamita is spoken thus. Gate gate para sangate bodhiswaha. And so the author of this text is using the term mantra as a metaphor. He just got through saying that the ultimate practice is Prajnaparamita. So what we're saying is the practice of emptiness is like a magic mantra because they were using metaphors. We're going to do so there's two things you can do with your brain. Your brain's like a doggy or a kitty. Sometimes it's having a nap. Other times it's having the zoomies. When your mind is having the zoomies, that's not a problem to be remedied. It's a feature to be used. So when your mind is very, very active, great. Play with these rhetorical questions. It'll really serve you. When your mind feels mellow, like a cat yawning before a nap or a dog turning around a bunch of times before laying down, when you feel that happen, then it's time to play with our mellow meditation. So quick like a bunny, let's just play with these contemplations right quick. We begin with the rhetorical question to interrupt our victim mentality. These 4 questions are inspired by one of the texts attributed to a fellow named Bodhidharma, who is credited with having brought Mahamudra meditation from India to China. Our third rhetorical question is a silly question that we ask just for us to get better and better at letting go. Our final rhetorical question helps us to really access our empathy. When you feel like you'd like to meditate, it's very easy. During our enthusiastic inhalation, simply silently and mentally recite sitting tall as you try to sit as tall as you can. And during your exhalation, physically relax as best you can while silently and mentally reciting relaxing. It's just that simple. The ancestor Wu redefined the 3 treasures of the Tao as being body, breath, and mind. That has been echoed by very popular Dzogchen teachers today. By coordinating the object of these words deals with our body. By reciting these words silently and mentally, we are engaging our mind. By coordinating the silent and mental recitation of these words with our breathing, we are engaging our breath. And so through this simple exercise, we are working with our body, breath, and mind. One of the great ironies is that every time we breathe in, our sympathetic nervous system makes it relatively easy to sit tall. And every time we breathe out, our parasympathetic nervous system makes it relatively easy to physically relax and mentally release. So it's less that we're forcing our body and brain to do things, and more like we're just coordinating our body and brain with the autonomic nervous system within our spinal cord. I don't know if you're as silly as me, but I sure love watching YouTube videos. In fact, I love watching videos about the tiny house on wheels movement. And the 2 things that really make that work are a love of ecological sustainability and a love of minimalism and simplicity. There are many sects of Taoism and Buddhism. I find this set of teachings that I'm sharing with you to be the overlapping part of the Venn diagram describing both Buddhism and Taoism, and to be particularly minimalistic. Any idiot, and I'm going to paraphrase Albert Einstein, any educated idiot can make things more complicated, more difficult, and more violent. However, it takes a lot of courage and a little bit of genius to move in the opposite direction. So more than a century ago, Albert Einstein was a fan of simplicity and minimalism. And that is the intention of this practice before us. Now, one of the reasons I call this proto-Zen is because it doesn't use koans, because Bodhidharma did not teach koans, but it does use contemplations because Bodhidharma taught those. Bodhidharma's contemplations were not cryptic, they were not weird, they were not trippy, they were very, very obvious and user-friendly. It's very important that we practice meditation hedonistically. If we do it like a workout and just push ourselves, we will most likely develop an aversion towards it, which is darkly ironic. So practice it as long as it is pleasurable, and then walk away and come back some other time. That was the advice of Alan Watts. No, this isn't the consider, if you will, the recitation sitting tall. It is not a recitation of concentration, but one of mindfulness. Why do I know it's not concentration? Because it's not our job to bat away our perceptions of other things, our perceptions of emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, or imaginings, our perceptions of sights, sense, sounds, flavors, and sensations, and the like. We welcome the ebb and flow of perception. That means that sometimes the things we notice will be in the background, sometimes it will be in the foreground. Persist with a basic exercise, sitting tall, relaxing, and you will benefit from whatever comes up. Relaxing is the most efficient way of experiencing the emptiness of whatever it is that we just noticed. So whether it is your last breath, the way you're sitting, or a conversation you had 30 years ago. Let's seal our practice with a chant. Actually, two chants. Let's start by the chant of ethics. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. Our chant of auspicious rebirth. May each being take auspicious rebirth, master the Buddha's path, and then help all others do likewise. And finally, the chant of the four immeasurables. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy, may no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel I have earned it, type something in the chat window, give this live stream a thumbs up, and share it on social media. I would very much like to return to lead this afternoon's meditation in approximately 3 hours. May you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.